One sec.
You're what's going on, my people? It's great to see everybody today. I got the Zoom on my phone, and I don't know why, but it's good to see y'all, man. Happy Saturday. We here for another week. About to get it in. And yeah, we're about to read this book, y'all. I'm excited. Honestly, these chapters definitely been doing some work for your boy. It's truly because I've definitely had some problems with arguing in my past. And recently, I've definitely grown through a lot of moments, and I've been recognizing like what worked and what didn't work. So I appreciate this book, y'all. It's definitely fire, and I'm excited to hear everybody's take on this past week. Really, it was what was this, chapter four or part four or something like that? Yep, part three. Just kidding. My bad. Part three, y'all. So part three, chapter one, two, three, and four went in. So with that being said, I'm gonna have Amber kick us off because you're already unmuted. OG Triple OG, go ahead.
Oh, I am this whole time. Okay, let's do this. All right, let's start with part three. How to win people to your way of thinking. Chapter one. You cannot win an argument. Principle number one. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Um, Definitely true. My dad used to have this, he used to say the sentence growing up a lot. He would be like, he's like, well, I like to argue, I like to debate. And just to keep it a buck with you, my dad has no friends. So um don't sit here and one thing that like I always keep in mind is like the end in mind. And I've always had to like not I mean always, but like more recently, I've been just more aware of at the end of the day, like what do you really want? What do you want? And you have to keep the end in mind. And in multiple situations, like one with my sister, I had to really like me and her were going back and forth about some really important things. And then I really had to sit down with myself and be like, Amber, what do you want? And at the end of the day, I really wanted a relationship with my niece and a good relationship with my sister. And I realized that I had to want that and stick to that vision over being right, over being justified. Even if I was right in my argument, if I was right and justified in whatever I felt, it didn't matter. At the end of the day, if I really thought about what I wanted, I'm like, Amber, you can sit here and that just because of who you are, just because you're older than her and you're her older sister, like you can win this argument. You can make her feel small. You can let her know that you know what's up. But at the end of the day, what is that going to give you? Is that going to give you a closer relationship to her? Is that going to give you a closer relationship to your sister? Is that going to give you a closer to your desire? And and so yeah, so whenever we even like with friends or obviously like business partners and stuff, we want to argue, but certain situations come up where we feel like injustice, um, and we want to defend ourselves. And this principle is really good to understand. Like at the end of the day, even if you were to win the argument, even if you were to prove your point right, what does that do for the other person? Like either makes them feel small or it like shuts them down. At the end of the day, the result um isn't one that wins friends or influences people. Okay, chapter two, a sure way to make enemies. Which one's this one? Show respect to the other person's opinion. Never say you're wrong. I've definitely had to learn this a lot, especially with being an older sister, being a leader, talking to people consistently about all their life things. And one thing that I've practiced is really just avoiding saying that like you're wrong. Like even it's just the moment that you hear that, like subconsciously, we all get like extremely defensive. Like we want to be like, no, I'm not. Even if we are, because it's just like a natural reaction for us to defend ourselves. So whenever we're talking to somebody else, and if we know, even though we may know that they're dead wrong and whatever it is that they're talking about, whatever it is that, they have a stance on, one of the things that I say all the time when I'm talking to anyone, I'm listening to them is I say like, I understand how you're feeling, or I understand the way that you would feel that way, justifying their experience, justifying their feelings, justifying, like the experience that they have going on. And it really goes a long, long way. Even if I may not agree with it, you could just sit there like and simply say, like, I understand that you may be feeling that way, or understand that the experience that you're having. And then go on with whatever it is that you need to say, but like condemning somebody and being like, no, you're wrong, you know what you're talking about. it never goes well at all. And second, third chapter is if you're wrong, admit it. This practice of admitting you're wrong very, very quickly recently for me has been one of like a top tier practice that's like really helped me throughout my journey. Because we are wrong majority of the time. And I feel like, when we're leading and we're building and we're creating the things that we're creating, one of the biggest things that we have to do is make decisions. And like we're learning, we're in this journey like together. And this stuff isn't always easy. We're learning brand new things. Like we're breaking generational curses. We're building multi-billion-dollar empires. Like there's gonna be times where we're not gonna get it right. We're gonna say the wrong thing. We're just not gonna, say we're not gonna be right. And so I thought about Mikkel's mom's value session at the goal setting session whenever she was talking about making decisions, and she was like, you have to be really good at making decisions, because even if you're wrong, you made it fast. Like make the decision fast, so even if you're wrong, you can hurry up and fix it. And so very good principle of whenever you are wrong, admit it quickly and empathetically, like really be like, oh my god, I'm so wrong. Or like some of the examples that it talks about in the book is just starting like with saying that, like, hey, I might be wrong in this, or I'm or like just admitting like I'm wrong most of the time. And when you say that, like, it's a very humbling experience. It's a very humbling like place to come from. So like the other person, when they're talking to you, they don't feel like they need to prove themselves. They need to like overcome whatever you're saying. Like you've already said, like, hey, I may be wrong in this, and it brings down all the defenses that they may have. In chapter 4, a drop of honey, begin in a friendly way. This is something that like I am, very friendly, like friendly, naturally nice. But like whenever I catch an attitude or whenever I get mad, it's like the absolute most. And there's times where not really like with my friends or like anything like that, but honestly, when it comes to like certain things that I really feel injustice about, like for example, my apartment complex, like I just don't feel like they like take care of this place or take care of our apartment the way that it needs to be. And so there's a lot of times where a bunch of like BS be happening out here all the time, and I really like want to come at them and just like be like, no, like I pay rent, I pay on time, like you need to fix it, blah blah blah. But that is not ever going to like work out in my favor. Like they may like hear me going off on them about a particular problem, and just because of that, they're like, you know what, we're gonna push her to last of the queue. Versus if I were to begin in a friendly way and be like, hey, I understand, y'all got a lot going on, but I need this issue fixed. It's more likely that they'll be like, okay, let's go ahead and help her, because like she's less of a headache, or she's she's nice. So yeah, so those were the 4 chapters that we went over, and those were the best takeaways that I got from them. So next person that I want to popcorn is Alyssa. I see you, girl. I see you there. And you were texting me, so I know you're there. If not Alyssa.
Oh my goodness. I loved what you touched on. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find my place here. Let me find this page. I loved what you touched on. And I kind of want to talk about that first part. Like you can't win an argument. Like you can't. And it says here you can't, because if you lose it, you lose it. And if you win it, you lose it. Like so it's kind of like a lose-lose, like situation. And recently I feel like I've been in this um not in this place where like I don't know, I haven't had like an urge to argue. I feel like for the longest time I was struggling with like seeking to understand someone instead of like no, I was struggling with seeking to understand somebody, because I used to just seek to reply or seek to like to say something back, or you know what I mean? Like I had to teach myself or learn like, okay, like it's not about winning an argument. That's not the importance here. That's not going to do anything for me. I don't care to win the argument. I want to like exactly how you said, like you have to ask yourself, like, what do you really want? What do I want out of this? Like I don't care to win this argument. I actually want X, Y, and Z. I want this outcome. I want this thing or whatever to happen. You know what I mean? And so focusing on that outcome, focusing on the end goal has been like huge for me because again, yeah, I'm just like you, like I'm the sweetest person. I can talk to a wall, never met a stranger, but yeah, once if I feel like I'm being disrespected or I feel like I'm being come at in a different way, I feel like I've learned how to really, really like be better about this. But heck yeah, I used to catch an attitude and someone would be on 10 and I'm like, oh, try me, girl, I'm on 20. Like, like, and it got to a point where I was just like, okay, like, even like in relationships, like in my past relationship, like there was, times where I had to tell myself, like, I don't care to win this argument. I don't care to like I don't want to attack this person. I want to attack the problem. I want to attack like what the issue is. I'm not attacking this person. I don't want to attack your character. I don't want to attack this. I want to attack the problem. I want to talk about what happened, why it happened, how we can, move forward, how we can prevent this from happening. So it's like times like that. And again, like it's hard because you're frustrated, there's times where I'm frustrated, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm sad, so you have all these like emotions going on, but you have to kind of remember like, okay, what is the end goal? What is the outcome? Like me being mad, me operating in this mad, sad, like hurt, low vibrational place, how is that going to help me? How is that going to help this? How is that going to help our situation? How is that going to help this argument? So I feel like that is, that's definitely something. And you're right. Like I know you use the word humble, and it's humbling. I've found myself in conversations before that I've literally had to say, like, hey, you know what? Like, I feel like I need to do more research on this before I like continue on and talk about it. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, or you know what I mean? Like I've humbled myself in those ways too, where I'm like, wow, like I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. Like, thank you for, for offering a different perspective. Or like, you know what I mean? Instead of just like, yeah, like arguing your point and trying to get your point across. I learned that, especially like being a communication major, like different communication styles, how people communicate, nonverbals versus verbal communication, and like just all the things. So, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely helped, letting go of that part of your ego that has to, that feels like you have to fucking win the argument. Like that feels like you have to fucking win it. Like, because I don't know, to assert dominance or to make sure that, the other person knows that like I'm not the one, to fuck around with. But like truly, yeah, I mean it's definitely been a different experience as far as how I approach disagreements or arguments, coming at it from that place versus wanting to be right. So, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a key part in absolutely, how to win friends and, influence people, but yeah, I mean, arguments, I feel like bring out a different communication style in people. It really tests people in, uncomfortable situations where they're trying to almost feel or in a defensive way. Us learning how to do it in a way that's constructive is really critical. So, yeah. That is my piece on that part, mostly because I was only able to read the first like the first little like section pretty much. Um, but yeah, that was my little take. Are you just popcorn and
Yeah,
peeps?
I just wanted to say real quick. I do feel like whenever we are dealing with a lot of people all the time, I feel like a big way to like stay consistent with these principles is to give yourself time in
Ugh.
certain situations, because it's not always easy to begin in a friendly way or not want to win the argument, like when you do feel
Oh yeah.
extremely justified. And like one of the biggest things that I've been able to do, like whenever I just been able to, find a higher perspective, like what's helped me a lot is like giving myself time away from the situation, away from the, the person, the problem, And I know
Oh.
like this may sound drastic, but really, whenever I was going through it with my sister, I did not talk to my family for like 3 months. And it wasn't because I didn't want to talk to them. No, like I wanted to talk to them, but there was so much pain going on within our family. Like if we would have got together any sooner, we just would have argued and fought and like cut each
Mhm.
other down. And so after like 3 months, like, time went on, we like were able to breathe. We came back together, remembered what we all wanted, which was to be together. And then we were able to really like respect each other, hear each other, all the things. And like during that time of reflection, like with my sister, I was able to finally like see my like where I was wrong in my like from my perspective. And I had realized like as much as I, work on listening, like I was not listening to her at all. Like, I was trying
Mhm.
not trying to listen to her. I was really was
Mhm.
not like I didn't want to hear it at all. And that literally just shut down our whole relationship in like a
Yeah.
couple months.
No, I feel
Um,
that. I feel that. And I appreciate you saying that too, because I feel like I am definitely one to have struggled, like to struggle with that. I'm very much so anxious attachment style. So in an argument, that comes out, that bubbles over a lot because I'm very much like, no, I want to talk about it right now. I want to fix it right now in this moment. Like, I want to, and I feel like, again, just like from my past relationship, moving on and things like, even like just reflecting back on all of it, I've noticed that. I really have noticed that I'm like, wow, like there are times where I recognize that like literally, dude, just taking a breath and taking some time for myself to really truly exactly how you said, like reflect, think about how I feel, think about where I went wrong, think about why I'm feeling this way. Like why do I feel this way? Why did it trigger me? You know? Like taking that time to really, really, really get down to like the nitty-gritty of how I feel and what, you know what I mean? Like, and I never did that. Like I really didn't. I never did that. I never allowed myself that space or that time. And you're right. I think it's very like crucial, and it's very like enlightening, I feel like, in that time, like that time that you take for yourself to, like you said, like just really reflect and take some space, like find some calmness so that you're approaching the whole situation, that you're approaching it in a different way, you know, or in a more healthy way, in a more constructive way. And I feel like that's something that I've absolutely learned over the past couple months. So yeah, I've been appreciative of it, even though, like I said, it's hard. It's definitely a transition for me, but I can see like the benefit in, space and time and just taking that for yourself and knowing that that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're running away from anything. That doesn't mean that you're avoiding it. That doesn't, it's literally giving yourself that space, that time to reflect and to, yeah, just like look inward, really, and stop focusing on like what you are thinking like they are doing wrong, or what you know what I mean? Like really truly focusing on yourself and what you can control and how you can show up better, I feel like is, key. And yeah, definitely, giving yourself that time to reflect on that is, like a necessity. So
you can choose someone else.
Monty's looking at me like, girl, don't choose me.
Hey, is it cool if I go
I
next,
love you.
y'all?
Oh my God, wait, Rigo, that's fun. That's crazy because I was literally about to say I never see Rigo on here, and I'm gonna call on him. I was literally gonna say it.
Nice. Well, I appreciate it. Honestly, I was listening to y'all. I have been tuning in as best as I can with y'all's what y'all are talking about. I have not read. Honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. I have not. I need to, and I will start reading. Especially this is really good. How to, what was it again? Win and influence people, win friends and influence people. Nice. So, just what y'all are talking about certain arguments. I'm gonna give a little bit of scenarios that I've gone through and how I actually come across like when it comes to arguments. So once it comes to me actually working, so for me, I'll be working at HEB, right? And I'll be training people, new individuals that'll be coming in pretty much almost on a weekly basis. So I'm consistently meeting new people. So different walks of life, different background, literally from ages from 18 to 40. I'm really trying to get connected with them and just help them out, right? So when it comes to certain beliefs, I literally just listen most of the time and then I'll speak. So I would want to say my first week with them, I'll just be listening, right? So once it comes to communication, the most thing that you got to do is literally just listen, right? And then from there you can actually see what they believe in, what their thought process is, and everything like that. So I've come across, I don't want to say that I argue a lot. If anything, I'll probably be arguing with my wife, but not even that. I probably wouldn't even be arguing either. It's more of just like I'll say something that's like a certain situation that I believe in, or something that's like I saw this as a fact, and then somebody else will be like, no, it's not like that. It's like this. And then I'll just look at them and it's like, okay, that's fine. And I kind of just drop it because I know it's not going to lead anywhere, So that's how I usually come across anything, even at work, even anywhere else where I'm at, even with my family. I remember I used to always argue with them and literally just justifying my actions and my belief, but there's no need, right? So the more I see it, it's more of like of an intention that you have behind everything that you do. So if you know that you're doing everything that is like good deep down to your core, or that belief that you really believe in that certain thing, whatever it can be, all aspects of life, there's no need to justify it, right? It's you know, just with honestly being here with the community in the last 2 years, it's very it's very important when people say, or we all be saying out here with the leaders, we as humans listen more with our eyes than our ears. So literally just show them what you're about, and that's it. They'll respect you to a certain way, and they'll be like, okay, I I get how he is or she is, right? With communication and everything. And I try my best to communicate effectively with people that don't have like the same like mindset as me or belief. I'm not saying that people, like we are all the same, right? I'm not saying like I'm better or they're better than me or whatever. I treat people as who they are at that moment. Like I don't look at anything else. But once it actually comes to really communicating effectively, even though like sometimes I don't really enjoy the way that they are, just they can be however they are, right? Whatever it is, and be like a pissy mood or whatever, right? You meet those people, they're always like in a bad mood or whatever. But I can always just be like, okay, they are just like that. It's not my fault. I do not take anything personal. That's on you, buddy. But I still have to communicate effectively with them. So I kind of just try to level with them from what they understand and how they communicate. So it's like kind of changing my energies and flows with them just so I can come across certain situations where we need to get stuff done. And that's more of just like a work out there at my job because I have like 12 coworkers that I work together with like effectively, and some of them just flat out don't know how to communicate, right? But that's where I come in and try to help them out as best as I can. But at the end of the day, they can be saying the things that they need to say, whatever. I really don't care, right? I feel like if we don't take anything personal, I think we'll be okay as people. The first time if they say something that can be kind of insulting, whatever, I kind of let it slide because it's unintentional. It's them, right? Second time, okay, I'll think about it. Like, all right, bro, that's the second time. And then third time starts to get personal. Then they got a problem with you. So if it doesn't hit number three, then there's no need for you to argue or even like take action upon it, right? Usually the first time it's like unintentional, it's just like that, whatever, right? So once it comes to communicating with people, that's how I usually like work with. It's more of a like I'm here, not taking anything personal. Whatever you say, I'm still gonna effectively communicate, control my emotions with whatever it is, and not really react, but respond to whatever I need to communicate with. But I do need to get on that book. That sounds really good. because a lot of the communication that I've learned is from other books, you know, so like other leadership books, and it kind of touches bases on a little bit about what y'all were talking about, but it seems like this one really dives in, you know, into detail. So I need to get on that thing, but I appreciate y'all giving me some time. Good morning to y'all. So the reason I want to get on is because I got to do some things. I need a shower, but I appreciate y'all, and I'll probably popcorn somebody else. Um, I guess Marcos, you got it, brother.
See you next week, Rico.
Yeah, I'll make sure he's on, y'all. You know what
Next
I'm
week,
saying?
I'll see y'all.
I'll knock on his door. No, high key, I've been on Rigo's butt about getting on these calls, so I appreciate him just taking some time and tuning in. Shout out everybody who I see on the regular faces. Miss Imani, what's poppin', girl? What's up? How are you, girl? She said, boy, I'm tired. I feel that.
It's like
What up, Amber? Good to see you.
it's 9 a.m. Like
I know,
I'm
I know.
very
I bet you are amazing for actually waking up early on time. I know whenever we were 2 hours ahead over in, I guess it was Glendale, Arizona, we ended up canceling our book club because we had an event that started at 10 a.m. Central Standard. So we were like, yo, we're gonna push back. I don't know how you do it, girl. I'm proud of you.
I'm,
I'm gonna say the
I'm
least. But uh I really, part four was extremely powerful because a lot of the situations and problems I found myself in when I first read this book were caused by my own accord. I think the greatest opportunity someone has to level up in their life is when they take accountability for their own issues and situations. When you recognize that your problems are brought upon your own doing, whether or not you feel like it's not even your fault, you'll understand and you'll be able to actually move um accordingly. And I know this book literally, just because a lot of examples weren't talked about, I wanted to reach on one. So in chapter 1, when he talks about you can't win an argument, he had quoted Buddha saying hatred is never ended by hatred but by love. So a lot of the time, if you argue and you rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill. So a lot of people have this desire of being right, and you might be right, like completely right, and the other person might be completely wrong. But as far as changing another's mind is being concerned, you will probably just be as futile, meaning insignificant, as if you were wrong. And when I first read that on page 112, I was like, yo, that did something serious for me, because for a long period of time, like I wanted people to be able to think in a similar way that I did, not understanding that I can help share my perspective, but everybody's going to have their own point of view. And when everybody has their own point of view and you outwardly allow them to feel wrong, you have no real shot of helping that individual literally be open enough to hear about something that might completely change their life. And I'm not talking about a business opportunity. I'm literally talking about principles and people that can literally help change their paradigm. And that hit me in the face because I'm so used to wanting to be right. So here is how you can keep a disagreement from being an argument. And I love these. The first one is welcome the disagreement. And it's crazy because my boy Michaela and I, we literally read this chapter together at the beginning of the week because we faced a good amount of opposition, I'm gonna say, with the conversations we had. And in that process, here's what we've understood. And like, bro, if you actually take these and you practice it over time, it'll literally be like the back of your hand, next second nature. So number one, welcome the disagreement. When two partners always agree, one of them is not necessary. So like anytime there's a disagreement, I like to remind myself and the other party that like, hey, it's okay. This was bound to happen. Conflict is inevitable because at the end of the day, you have a different perspective than I do, different experiences than I have, and we're going to think different ways, period. Distrust your first instinctive impression. Usually your first instinctive impression is based on an emotional reaction not an intelligent response. What do we say about emotions and rationality? Whenever your emotions are high, your rationale is low. So in order to switch the chord, you got to control your temper. I think this is the biggest part that most people sleep on, because we get so caught up in our right here problem situation that we don't take a second and take a breath and zoom out real quick so we can analyze the situation, the problem from multiple angles rather than what we're seeing right away. So that controlling your temper, what's helped me is taking a quick breath. Well, bro, you better read this book, my guy. You better read this book, brother. As well as we got emotional intelligence popping out here soon, and it'll literally help you something serious, bro. But as as you distrust your first impression because you know majority of it is emotional, you can take a second and zoom out. And the way that you can control your temper is understanding that what you see at first might not be what you think it is. Meaning you've got to take whatever information is given to you. And as I think Alyssa talked about it, like do your quote unquote research, make sure you have the sides of the story, make sure you have the different perspectives that contributed to the problem situation that you're helping resolve, because it will not work if you only take your perspective and one other person's. I don't know who taught me this. It might have been my mom, and it might have been a church mom mentor type of vibe. But essentially, there are always three truths to every story. There's one person's side, the other, and then there's actually what happened, and only God knows that. So, and then the two parties involved. If you're on the outside looking in, or you're even a part of it, you got to be mindful that what you're taking, what you're hearing, some of it might be true, some of it might be not. Listen first. Do not resist. Do not defend. Do not debate. Build bridges of understanding. So before you go quick to try to tell somebody what's popping, seek to understand before being understood. We say this pretty often. So if you take a second, control your amber or your temper, and you listen before you speak, you'll be in a better position, and you'll be able to find areas of agreement. Dwell first on the points of the areas in which you agree. Be honest and apologize for the mistakes that you made or contributed in, because whether or not you feel like it, if there's a conflict, you probably contributed in some way or form. And then the last part is promise to think over your opponent's ideas and study them carefully, and then thank your opponent sincerely for their interests. And then postpone action to give both sides time to think through the problem. This is something that Mikhail has taught me, because I'm very solution oriented, and I do not like conflict, not in the sense that I cannot handle it. I just want us to be good, bro. I'm big talk like shalom. You know what I'm saying? I'm about peace on everything. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like when people argue. I just don't get why it's necessary. I know it's inevitable, but at the point of the day, my perspective is let's move forward. So in that process, understand that sometimes people just need some time to think and dwell and fester in what it is that they've been told or what it is that they've learned. So if a problem isn't resolved right away or in the time frame that you would hope, pray on it and then revisit the information utilizing these principles again. Because when you have that other convo, you have that other conflict, you'll be able to guide through with it. So y'all, I know I read this page specifically, 114 and 115, over and over and over again when I first read it. And I read it about 3 times this week as we were having some difficult conversations. So these things work. And it literally will help you become a better person, let alone a better leader or entrepreneur. I care less about any of that. How your life is going to be dependent and measured upon your character and how you treat other people. So make sure you're treating people with respect. How to avoid not being liked. Just don't tell somebody that they're wrong. I think the biggest part I wanted to touch on is what Jesus said. Agree with thine adversary quickly. Just agree with them. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you feel like there's not a problem, if you feel like there is not a problem, y'all, that is your perspective. If someone is coming to you with a problem, it's because there is a problem, whether or not you see it. And when you recognize it and you acknowledge the person, you allow that person to be seen and heard. Not feel like they're seen and heard, but you actually see and hear them. They will literally appreciate you, again, moving that spotlight from yourself onto them so that they can actually express what it is that they're feeling. If you're wrong, admit it. Super simple concept. For some reason, as humans, we have this negative connotation about being wrong, even though a lot of the time we're wrong about a lot of things. So if you admit it quickly and emphatically, not because you're trying to avoid something, but because you actually recognize where you participated in the situation, you'll actually allow, like, with the genuine intention behind it, you'll allow yourselves to get to that middle ground. And he ended it by saying, by fighting, this is from the Bible too. So by fighting, you never get enough, but by yielding, you get more than you expected. Even if you yield and that person is no longer in your life, in the grand scheme of things, all things work out for our good. So in the process, even if y'all were able to communicate, get through the conflict, chop it up, and you yielded, meaning, hey, I was wrong, I apologize, and I love you nonetheless. Let's continuously move forward to why we're in a relationship to begin with, romantic or not. If that person is no longer in your life, that person no longer was meant to be there. And if that's the case, you gained more than you lost, because God only removes to replace. And having that perspective, you'll understand that you gain so much more by yielding rather than trying to feel like, yo, bro, y'all are wrong, get out of my face. So just admit when you participate in your own wrongdoing. A drop of honey. Now, this is something that I feel like takes some finesse and some repetition. But if you just come and a genuine want to create an intentional friendship, and you begin in that way, people will receive it every step as you move forward, regardless of what happens next. I think it's super amazing. Where did he talk about it? It's the last point. I'll move on. Okay, check it. He talked about Rockefeller, right? And said, the opening of a remarkable speech follows. Note how it fairly glows with friendliness. Rockefeller, remember, was talking to men who a few days previously had wanted to hang him by the neck to a sour apple tree. Yet, he couldn't have been more gracious, more friendly, if he had addressed a group of medical missionaries. His speech was radiant with such phrases as, I am proud to be here, having visited in your homes, met many of your wives and children. We meet here not as strangers, but as friends. Spirit of mutual friendship, our common interests. It is only by your courtesy that I'm here. So he was showing sincere appreciation, and through that sincere appreciation, he was also being friendly and reminding people of their common ground. Period, point blank. Like, hey, y'all, like, here's why we know each other. Here's what we've done already. And the only reason why I'm here is because y'all have allowed me to be here. And I appreciate that. And people respected that, right? On the next chapter page, it says, if a man's heart is rankling with discord and ill feeling towards you, you can't win him to your way of thinking. With all the logic in the world, it will not happen. People don't want to change their minds. They can't be forced or driven to agree with you or me, but they may possibly be led to if we are gentle and friendly, ever so gentle and ever so friendly. I just know repetition is the father of all learning. It's important why he literally repeated the words gentle and friendly in that phrase. And it's high key because I am not in the convincing game. Or excuse me. Yes, I'm not in the convincing game, y'all. Persuasion literally allows people to make their own decision. I don't need to convince you to do anything. But in order for somebody to have an open mind to be persuaded into the right direction, they have to have an open mind. So the key is to literally move intentionally so that they don't close you and your words off. And that's the part. The key to unlock the wall or the doors is literally leading with love, doing all these principles that he was talking about, and actually being sincere about wanting to be a friend with somebody. You don't have to be friends with absolutely everybody, but the point is those that you are wanting to guide and help, like a friendship needs to be established. You can have commissionships, you can have business relationships, but those are very surface level. And when conflicts arise and you point back to common interests, a lot of the time people are what's in it for me versus what's in it for us. So if you allow them to be reminded of like what we're doing as a collective and why the relationship was established in the first place, and you remain mindful of just being gentle and friendly, not disregarding someone else's opinion. I know I've been at fault for it plenty of times, y'all, and I've used these principles heavy. So it's like something you got to like continuously work on and you improve on over time. But it's the effort of that being shown to others, and it's why people are respected and appreciated over years. I like to bring this up because Mikhail's mom was really adamant about it. Like, people don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. So in the process, Mikhail had ran into a friend of hers who hadn't seen or talked to her in years, but she remembered specifically something that she told her, and they remain in good standing to this day. And the main reason is because Mikhail's mom was intentional and genuine in her want to see that person win. She gave sound advice because she cared about that person's what's the word I'm looking for? Common interest as well as overall well-being. So in that, only a friend does that. You ain't a friend if you don't care about my well-being. See what I'm saying? So if you don't care about my well-being and you're worried about you and yours, like, there's not really any common ground there. So as we've been like really establishing these principles over the course of the past, for those who've been part of book club 2-3 years now, but for those who have been in for over a year, going on a year, a lot of the principles you've been learning about are actually connecting with people so that you can develop relationships and get to where you really want to go with the people who are supposed to be there. Be mindful that conflicts are inevitable, and when you actually go about it and you lead with genuine friendship, you'll be able to actually overcome those things, because it's not about the situation, it's about the common goal, it's about the actual overall well-being of all parties involved. And that's why you don't see it out often nowadays, and I'm grateful for our type of community, because despite whatever conflict or situation have arose, I've been able to have some very sincere and real conversations, not beating around the bush, not throwing things on the carpet, but actually like, what's good, bro? Like, let's actually see what's popping, and then let's move forward so that we can be better, because that's the goal. Like, we're all works in progress. No one's perfect. If you were perfect, you would be God, and there's no possibility on planet Earth while you live that will happen. So you go and let people down, you go and fight, you go and lose your temper, you go and allow the flesh to get the best of you from time to time. But if you utilize these principles and you lead with that love, bro, you're going to be able to win people and influence them in the right way moving forward. So I wanted to touch on really that first chapter of part 4, because if you miss those key points, those are literally like practical implications that you can put into practice right away. Once you notice that there's some tension in some conversations, welcome the disagreement and start from there. And be like, all right, bet. I know that we're on the common same page. What's popping? I love you. I know there's a disagreement. Let's talk it out. Let's see if we can get to the same type of perspective and move forward. Takes a lot of courage. It is nerve-wracking and it's scary at times. And majority of our fear comes from losing that individual in our lives, or feeling disrespected. And it's going to hurt when that happens, but just understand everything happens for the betterment of your own good. So I love you guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, shout out this book. It's grateful. I remember Mikhail and I got off a pretty tense conversation. And I was like, bro, this is literally all chapter 1. It's like, I hope Spivey reading, because I don't know how to help y'all other than like, if you get yourself in front of the information when the problem arises, you got the info and you've got the tools to actually pull out in that span. But if you don't, you won't, and you'll literally find yourself in a very similar cycle and be like, damn, this looks very familiar, you know? So I love you guys. Thanks for letting me spill to y'all some of my big takeaways, but I'm going to pass this thing to Imani, if you want to go, girl, you got this.
Thank you, Marcus.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. I'm not a morning person, so don't judge me right now. Okay. But Marcus, that quote that you said in the drop of honey, like the part of it that, hold on, let me go back to it because I just connected with that so much, especially when it said like the description of the people that you're trying to change their mind. I'm just like, hold on. I just had it. Okay. Scolding parents and domineering bosses and husbands and nagging wives ought to realize that people don't want to change their minds. They can't be forced or driven to agree with you or me. Dear God, people suck sometimes. So you have to like be able to get on their level, but not on their level. Like stay at your level and try to bring them up as far as possible. And like my mother is very much the nagging wife, and sometimes she'll drive me insane. Like, and I think I've tried so many approaches over with her over the years that I just kind of not like, no, I mean, did I give up? Maybe in some parts. Like, I'm at a place of more peace with myself that I'm just like, if she gets on my nerves, I'm either about to leave or ignore her for a while. Like, please leave me the hell alone. I love you, but I can't do this right now just because it's hard to be able to get to change people's mind. Even if you like there's just some people that no matter how many different approaches you take, it's just not you have to wait for them. And I think that's what it said, like, but they may like how you said they can't how it said they can't be forced or driven to agree. So so sometimes like it's okay to just take a step back. Like Marcus, we're not in the convincing game. We're in the like, just I'm asleep. Okay. I'm just saying people. Okay. But let's go back to chapter 3. Um admitting you're wrong is a fun little principle because it- people really like that. Like a lot. It's weird. I don't know. I think it's kind of an ego thing to me, but whatever. I love when people admit they're wrong when I'm right. I'm eating it up. Like, yeah, I told you so. Like it's all good. And it does feel good. It's not always as easy to admit when a person is wrong, but uh, it's a good practice to do. Sometimes, like personally, like I won't have had like many situations where I'm just like I was in the conversation before I admit that I'm wrong. But there's a lot of times where I will literally apologize and come with empathy and just be like, and sometimes even a little resisting, I'll just be like, listen, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do this. And yes, I was wrong. You were right. Let's move forward from here. And I think that helps with your relationships with people because they know that you are taking the opportunity to, um, I guess, hear their side, understand their side, and be able to move forward in the relationship. And sometimes not admitting you're wrong can cause like too much space between people. And if I wasn't so sleep, I would be able to figure out what that word is. But oh well. So it's space, where you can't really because nobody wants to be around people like that. Like, who wants to be around people who are constantly forcing their opinions on people? And sometimes their opinions aren't right. Like, at the end of the day, there are a lot of factual things out there, and a lot of things are just opinion based. So, admit when you're wrong. It makes people feel good. Um, So to go back, I'm going backwards today because, like, I was really feeling 4 and 3. I mean, 1 and 2 were great. Don't get me wrong, but I just really wanted to start there today. Um, okay, there was something in I think chapter 2 or yeah, chapter 2 that had me be like, okay. It was like a little, was it a poem or a little scrib, or was that chapter 1? Dear God. Hold on, y'all. Oh God, yes. Okay, so chapter 2, where it's talking about show respect for the other person's opinions, never say you're wrong. It is a fun way to actually talk to people when you're not trying to force your opinions on them and actually listen to what they have to say. Even if you do disagree with them and it doesn't make sense to you, it's basically like just a way to expand your mind. You may not agree with it, but it's somebody else's opinion that more than likely other people believe in as well. So, um, like my sister, like being in California with my friends and family has been help. This book has been helping me a lot because I've been a little softer with my family and friends instead of, I don't know, I guess trying to force my opinion on them. Like I actually had this conversation with my sister the other day because we were talking about, so funny because there's so many men on this thing right now, but like we were talking about how men hate women. Sorry, y'all. It's the world. A lot of men hate women, so crucify me. I don't care. Uh, but it's true. So a lot of things like us women are like get treated so unfairly by a lot of men. I mean, how many women do you know like will walk at home at night? How many women? Not a lot. How many men? I've seen men frolic home from the bar drunk as hell with no worries, but women have to think about that. So that was something that we were talking about in one of the videos that she sent me of like why men hate women is like that men have a like when they get their dream girl, they're only getting their dream girl to really impress other men and to get their approval from their fathers. And she said, and this was so funny, it was like one of those kind of satirical jokes, where she's like, I mean, look at Jesus, look what Jesus did for his, I know, like, look what Jesus did for his father to try to get the approval of his father. And I know it's not like that, but I kind of brought that up and like saying that there's a lot of propaganda with religion and how religion has been used over the years to you know keep people in control. And she kind of got offended a little bit because she's in her Christianity journey and I respect it. So I had to kind of take a step back with her and just be like, hey, I respect your opinion and your journey where you're at. I just like if you can have an open mind, because what I'm talking about is facts, and it's up to us, it's our responsibility as people to use discernment when seeking the truth. And she completely was like, I agree. I did it. I used the principles. It worked, and I was so happy. Like, okay, cool, because that's all I want for her. I don't necessarily want to be like, oh, Jesus is not real. That's crazy. Like, no, let people have their opinions. Religion is deep and intense and it goes over thousands of years. So who am I to be like, oh no, your beliefs are wrong? No, that's not the case. I just wanted her to use that discernment because it has been used to take over countries and genocide people for thousands of years. Like this is not nothing new. And she totally agreed with me. And I was very proud that I did not argue with her and that I did not try to say that everything that she believes in was wrong, because it's not. And I don't even know all the answers to the universe. I'm on a different journey, but the same journey of learning what I want to learn in my spirituality. And having that approach with her definitely, and showing that respect for her religion and her beliefs, helped her listen. It actually helped her listen to what I was trying to say, and she didn't cast it off. So I really respected her for that, for even like, taking it in. But I knew this book was like on it. I'm like, okay, this stuff works. I mean, I've been able to use it in my life, but like I said on last book club, doing these things intentionally is a whole different thing when you're actually like learning perspectives of other people and how to influence friends, and really getting down to the different methods of influencing and winning friends. Loved it. Okay. Chapter 1. By nature, I like to debate and a little bit like to argue, just a smidge, not too crazy. Miguel's like, you're dumb. Okay, sometimes I like to argue, okay? It's not because I don't know. I like to debate with people and I like getting under people's skin. So funny. It's funny to me because I'm just like, people get so sensitive and I just like messing with people, see where their head is at, see how, but that doesn't always, I'm growing. I will say that. I am definitely growing. I don't argue with people as much. Actually, since I've been home, I have taken that like I've taken chapter principle 1 of the just not arguing with people, and I realized there's a time to argue and there is a time to simply have a discussion with people. Oh man. Oh no. I had it. Yes. What the heck? Where am I? Oh yeah. If you win, if you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill. Like, although I do like to argue sometimes, I have learned in the past that I can lose friends, which has its perks and has its downfalls, like I don't mind losing friends. I don't really necessarily believe in every relationship needs to be like a forever relationship. My mom actually taught me this when I was really, really young, and I've actually kept that principle to heart. She taught me people come for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. And I have made some lifelong friends, which I'm so grateful for. I've had people in my life for a reason that have come and taught me things that I needed to know, whether it was out of negativity or positivity. And I've had people for seasons as well that have come in my life that I started off in a certain place in my life. And as the years went by, I grew and outgrew those people, and I no longer could have them a part of my life in order to continue to grow. So it's really important for me to keep that kind of perspective and not necessarily need to like if I am arguing with people and I know, oh, that sounds so terrible. I don't want to say like they're an expendable person because that sounds really grimy, but like you don't need everybody on your lifetime. And if you have a disagreement with somebody that gets that bad, like okay, it's not necessary to stay friends with them or do whatever situation that you are in. Like I choose peace most of the time nowadays. Like I've been choosing peace with my mom and peace with my family. I choose not to argue. If it gets to a point of argument, I would rather walk away because those arguments do stay in people's mind. Like they don't go away. People think about them and like they see you. And like you said, Marcus, what you said, Marcus, and actually Amber told me this like yesterday that people, oh no, did it leave? What? I forgot. Sorry, y'all. What Amber, what did you tell me yesterday? Marcus, what did you say? Talking about oh, my brain doesn't work in the morning. Okay, I'm sorry,
Tell me
y'all.
a little
Forgot.
bit,
It's
and
okay.
maybe I can help you reboot.
What was I talking about?
And then you said how people remember the way that they make them feel.
Yes, that one. Thank you. they like remember how you make them feel. So like even if the argument has been long forgotten, they'll remember that last time and they're like, I don't know about that one. And I've done the same thing where I just like really am very hesitant with the company that I keep because I know that people aren't forever friends or aren't forever people. Um, and yes, it is nice to win an argument. And yes, sometimes people can understand, but it's better to use like the rest of the principles, like kind of be sweet about it, be friendly, like in emails. Like, I've been working in a professional environment for a very, very long time. And when I like, I've been in property management, like I have been a property manager. And when I need to send an email to somebody who has either done a lease violation, needs to clean their patio, anything like with rent, I always started off very friendly and open for the first couple emails because people make mistakes. People, it's hard out here. So I understand how people, how it's hard to like, keep your bills paid. Like if you ain't got it like that, it's hard out here. So I try to come with the most friendly way possible. And a lot of times that has actually helped me get rent back. Like on several occasions, I've used tactics where I'm actually sending them links to rental assistance and programs that can help them get their rent paid. And if y'all need that, I do know a couple resources just to let y'all know. But it usually like I've had really good just by being friendly and coming at it like, hey, I know life is tough and I want to do everything I can to make sure that you can pay your rent and you won't get kicked out, unfortunately, because that's just how property management works. And I've even had to take well, I've had to take many people to eviction court, but I've taken this one woman to eviction court and I had no choice because once you're a property manager, like you literally have to follow all of the rules of the ownership companies and there's not really room to derail. So I had to evict this woman who had a baby and her job played the hell out of her on her maternity leave and refused to pay her. So she had no money with a newborn baby and two other kids. And I felt so freaking bad. Like I tried everything in the book. And I even I gave her rental assistance. I tried to find more programs for her. Nothing, couldn't do anything about it. So what I ended up doing, I pushed out. Like there's a point where it's the eviction, like go to court and you get the eviction, and then after there's like a week later that you get it's called a writ of possession, where if you're not out by that day that the constable pulls up and we have to like physically take all of your stuff out, and that's when you see like people's stuff on the outside and their doors locks change and like how the movies are. And at that point, we got all the way there. I pushed that writ of possession out 3 weeks just to give her some more time. And even though I had to evict this woman, at the end of that, she came and gave me a hug and was like, oh my God, thank you. She was so grateful that I even did everything I could. And it's like, okay, I done evicted this lady and she's thanking me for everything that I've done for her because I genuinely cared. I showed that interest. I didn't want to put anything like negative and argue with her about anything. I just wanted to, you know, help her out. And that helped. And I think this book at the base of it is about genuinely caring for people, and those people that you genuinely care for, you use these principles in order to build a real solid friendship. And I think that is important for all of us in our businesses and our lives, of course. Like Marcus said, mainly in our lives, for ourselves and our personal development. So it's really important to keep these principles, man. And I've been learning so much since I've been home. It's like insane. I'm like very much more calm. Even we're not even finished with the book, and I have calmed down a lot. Like, no, I don't. I still want to argue, but I'm not gonna argue like that. I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm just kidding. I don't like to argue. Okay, who's next? Who's next? Donovan, are you ready? Don. Okay.
Poppy, good morning, good morning. Shout out to those of y'all who already went, killed it. Shout out my man D Pena on the call. But whoa, it was definitely lit reading these chapters, even just like reflecting on previous situations, conversations, and even current. And the other day, Marcus and I were talking, and it's like, bro, you can never win an argument. And I was like, wow, if it's real, because really you just go back and forth. And then like when it's like you do, it's like you don't because you're the other person is you made the other person feel some type of way. And it's not truly resolved. So like Marcus had mentioned and talked about in like uh in um rebuking and having those conversations to move forward and grow and work on becoming better on whatever the case is. Um, for me, just lately, conversations that I'm having with family and everything, it's like that I understand that I'm gonna have these conversations and it's more of them talking to me rather than with me because of the the prolonged journey of the abundance that I've been talking about for a couple years as we've started this journey. And in that, like I said, understanding that this comes with it and not allowing myself to react and just take in and not argue and go back and forth. Like the best way to not get in an argument is to avoid the argument. And so in that, just really like as I'm having these conversations or am in these conversations, it's like I'm receiving what is being said, but I'm also like thinking like, okay, this is how I feel, this is what I want to say, but like what's the best way to say it in order for it to be received? And it's just putting yourself in the other person's shoes and perspective to best understand how to communicate something. And one, it's like with the honey, this is something that I've witnessed and observed Mikhail do a lot over the years. And I never really like understood, but like I understood. And it was how you can, oh, this lighting in the back got me looking dark. But but how you can you have to be wiser than others and not just like what you know and the knowledge and proving yourself to be wiser and making them feel some type of way, but really thinking ahead, playing chess, not checkers, where you're steps ahead of them and directing them through the conversation to get to a point of understanding. And it's like I said, it's something I've seen and observed Mikhail do. And so just as I continue to grow and be more aware of the skill sets and the knowledge and everything that is compacted in these chapters, it's like, yo, I can apply more of that more efficiently and have these more efficient conversations with people to not only to move together and move forward. So we like, how can we both be better? So definitely lit. I was hyped over it for sure. But yeah, y'all. Go ahead and pass this thing to Mikhail.
Well, let's go. Don, thanks for peeping the vibes. And thank you for your insight, everybody, whole squad this morning. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. And, I don't mean to, I ain't trying to argue and shit, but Imani, you wake up here with energy every day, girl. I know you just had a long morning and a long night, but listen, you are a person. You don't have to be a morning person, night person, none of that. You here, you know what I'm saying? Sun is shining, day is bright. So happy Saturday, family. It's good to see all y'all today, truly. These 3 chapters, bro, or 4 chapters, fire. I'm not gonna lie to you. And Donnie, I appreciate the props, but hey, even players, I was about to say players F up too. I'm trying to stop swearing out here as much. My kids in the room. So with that being said, I definitely have had moments where, I'll be very intentional, like exactly what Dom was just talking about, and really be trying to lead people through the conversations. But I definitely get emotional sometimes too, you know what I'm saying? I definitely do. And it was honestly wild because as I was reading these chapters, the main things that kind of stuck out to me were just a few of the things that I've done this week. And I had one conversation that just did not end well this week. All the other conversations are great. You know what I'm saying? And truth be told, I was like, oh, we killed it. And I ain't even read them chapters yet. And then I got to this one conversation. I fumbled the bag all the way, y'all. It was all bad. Literally, I felt myself get irritated. And in that moment, I was like, Mikhail, calm down. We're good, Mikhail. Just listen. And then it went about 3 more minutes of them talking. And I could tell they were just literally boldly lying out of their mouth. But, one thing that I have to digress to is something that I learned a decade ago. The man who thinks he's wrong and the man who thinks he's right, man or woman, who thinks he's wrong and right, are in fact both right. Period. They're both right. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. They have their own belief systems. They have their own experiences that cause them to get to that natural reaction. So that is correct. Period, point blank. There's just been along the way a misunderstanding, some decisions, and a miscommunication that has gotten you to the point of looking at each other like you're not correct right now. And both of you guys are feeling the exact same way. And so in that moment, I did not digress to that. You know what I'm saying? That was definitely an aftermath kind of thought. In that moment, I was like, nah, fuck that, blah, blah, blah. Started going ham, went in on niggas this week, and was like, yo, I am not doing it, period, point blank. And excuse me, I just literally dropped that bomb after saying I was not trying to swear. But ultimately, y'all, reading this book definitely just made me more intentional because I knew what I knew and exactly how Donnie just explained it to y'all. I've explained it. But I was not aware of the adverse effects on the back end to actually know and grasp a full understanding of what happens in the midst of an argument. And reading these few chapters definitely gave me the other end of that and the reason why I won't let myself get there going forward, where I will really work to be consciously aware of when I'm getting close to make sure that we recede back into a moment of calmness. But it's definitely different. There have definitely been times where in my life that I've noticed where I've definitely, messed these lessons up, and definitely lessons where I've definitely upheld these as well. And it was honestly dope. As I was reading, like, I don't know if y'all remember like the policeman story when he was talking about dude riding on the hill or riding on a mounted policeman. He was with his dog in the park. But long story short, I just related it to being a black man in America and having been a black man in America in Minnesota, dealing with a lot of police. I mean, if you guys literally go look up my driving record, I've been in jail like 35, 40 times. You know what I'm saying? It's actually kind of wild because for 8 years, while I was out here making no excuses, like it'd be so funny to me when people in business be like, oh man, my license is invalid. I can't do this. Like I was driving dirty for 8 years straight, building my business. Quit playing with me. Did not care at all whatsoever. Take me to jail. I'll pay whatever fine. I'll get whatever ticket. And then as soon as I make that bag, I'll pay it all back. I'm not tripping. As I have literally been able to, I'm still in the process of doing because thousands of dollars in tickets. So I'm serious. But ultimately, you got to go through what you got to go through to get to where you're going to get to, period. And I had a one track mind, and the easiest route there was a straight line. So I put my blinders on and I went to work. And so in that season, though, being in Minnesota, where they're literally out here killing black people still, you know what I'm saying? This is something that's been happening for a number of years. 2020, it just became public. But all through even that year, I was still getting pulled over. They pulled me over in my Lincoln thinking it wasn't my car quite a few times. After running my plates, after looking at the yellow tags, the whole nine. And I've literally said this to a lot of my brothers, a lot of friends. I know people who have personally been killed by the police up here. Like, it's actually wild. But ultimately, what it really comes down to is exactly the lesson that he taught there in that book. And this is why I think that this book club and these books are not just for business. This is why this event is completely business neutral, because these teach you lessons that you have to learn out here. Period. Like, I'm a whole father raising a whole black child. I have to teach him how to get into those moments and literally like think ahead and not react, just actually respond. Like, dude, when he was coming over the hill, he was like, yo, the last cop was on my ass. He was literally like, yo, you let your dog run around here with no muzzle and no leash one more time, I'm giving you a ticket, I'm finding you, you never come back. It's not happening. Period. I don't care if you didn't think it was a big deal. The dog could kill squirrels, the dog could kill kids, the dog could bite somebody. Like, bro, put your freaking dog on a leash and a muzzle. Sent him home because he tried to defend himself. Yet, when he just was like running over the hill and then he was like, oh snap, my dog's off the leash. I waited a little bit. I didn't think I was going to see him today. And the policeman is right there. He runs up on the policeman, and before he could say anything, he talks about his mistake. Here's the difference between two people in a car where they get pulled over. And I've literally seen this. Why'd you pull me over? I wasn't even doing nothing, this, that, and the third. Versus, hey, what's going on, officer? I know I was a few miles over, but... And I also know, yes, my license is suspended, player. I'm going to hand it to you either way. My wallet's right here in my chest pocket. I'm going to just reach in here and grab it and hand it to you. But how's your night going? I know I'm probably like the chillest person you've pulled over yet, huh? That type of conversation goes completely different. Completely different. Reacting versus responding. And that's it. And as I was like literally looking and reading these chapters, it was just so prevalent to me. And I was like, yo, I low-key need to bring this up because I know that we all have friends that can learn that lesson. It just doesn't have to deal with police. It could be arguments. It could be whatever the case may be. But for me, that was just a very big issue that I was in my brain thinking about, and they're related. And then furthermore, like in marriage, this is crazy. You know, there's only one other married person on this call. Shout out D, you know what I'm saying? OG, triple OG. But in marriage, you get into quite a few arguments, y'all. You know what I'm saying? You're literally like, after you get married and in the process of getting married, you are literally learning who each other is. Like, you didn't grow up with one another from children. So you literally have to find out who this person is, how this person is. You have likes, dislikes, that your spouse has likes, dislikes. And you guys find yourself in like disagreement sometimes. And one thing I love that he pointed out in this book was a moment that I know that when me and Tia get into moments of like arguing and screaming and yelling at each other, we literally be like, yo, one of us will be like, yo, I'm not listening to you right now because you're yelling at me. So I'm gonna need that ass to calm down so we can actually talk to one another. Because as Marcus said, when emotion is high, logic is low. So you've got to either create the adverse effect by hitting it on the nail, but 9 times out of 10, as a husband, let me know if I'm wrong, D. When you hit it on the nail just, it doesn't go in, it goes out. You know what I'm saying? It's like the explosion. So in that, when that happens, he had a great lesson in here. Sometimes I do this, like, sometimes it's toxic, sometimes it's not, but I'll just like, if I can find and muster up the courage, just shut down, go to sleep, go out the room, go downstairs, and I'm gonna just chill, and we gonna come back and we gonna chop it up. Look, Tia just hit me with the lip because she hates when I do that. So on the other end, he was like, yo, if one person is yelling, the other person has to listen. And that's what he said he's done with his wife for the last 50 years. And it's worked well for him. And I'm like, yo, well, quit playing with me, because it's worked well for Dale Carnegie and friends. Mikhail might implement that, because if I'm going to be honest, shout out Rigo, we pretty chill. 9 times out of 10, we ain't the one really raising our voices first. So listen instead of yell back. And that was like a big, big, big lesson from Kill Steele that I learned today, reading them pages. Like, when you're in an argument, you can't win the argument. The only way is to literally shower each other with love and come to a final place of understanding. That's it. And in order to get there, you literally have to communicate, both of you, effectively, period. And you kind of just have to wait it out until you can actually understand both persons' perspective. So with that, that's why Tia doesn't like when I just shoot downstairs and be like, I'm going to the office and done with this conversation. You know what I'm saying? So with that, these chapters, honestly, they've definitely been fire. They've definitely helped me in my understanding of just communicating in my relationship, communicating in my business, communicating with my friendships as well. Like, I'm really one to be pointing out people's wrongness, or like we're in the midst of it. I've been working on it sometimes. Now I'll be like, if I caught a problem, I'll text niggas after the call. You know what I'm saying? I'll wait until after the call. So I'm getting better slowly but surely, but we all falter in these things, and that's literally why we all read these books as well, because we're just becoming aware of the things that we can do better to become highly effective people. That's our goal all on this call. We all want to become highly effective people. If you didn't, you wouldn't be a part of TGF Network. You wouldn't be a part of Powerful Creative. You wouldn't be a part of DMM. You wouldn't be a part of any one of these entities that have literally gotten started to help people become the best version of themselves. So with that, I'm grateful. That's kind of like my take on these last few chapters, real quick, relatable pieces, because all y'all hit on all the notes as well. Going forward next week, I think that we should high key implement like the timer, how we used to, depending on how many people that we have. I'd say like that 5-minute mark is fire, because 5 minutes is like before you get to, okay, I'm going off of my life and not my notes now, you know what I'm saying, type of vibe. And so I think that would be smooth, because with that, I think that we could really keep this call like an hour and a little bit of change type of vibe, so that everybody can get to it. I know it's Father's Day weekend, so I'm gonna hold nobody up. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay awesome. Next week, we are going to knock out, hold on. Oh, real fast. This week was, I didn't hear anybody talk about the 4th part. Did we go over that when it came to the honey, or is that for next week's reading? Marcus. Marcus is knee deep in something else right now. Is that a yes or is that a no?
We did talk about honey a little bit.
Okay, I missed.
So I don't know. I
talked
don't know
about
if it was
it,
a part of it.
Somehow I missed
Yeah,
those
okay.
parts of the conversation. I caught everything else, but just not the honey part. But shout out to him
It's all
saying a
good.
drop of honey can literally attract more flies than a literal gallon of, I don't know that word, but I thought it was like poop. You know what I'm saying? But either way, long story short, y'all, stay nice, stay awesome, be happy, give people compliments, and come to a moment of understanding by actually being genuinely interested in some good parts in them. Therefore, you can actually get to the bad parts of them, is the wrap up. So let's get it. My fault. I missed that part. You know what I'm saying? I must have tuned out, or a kid was screaming or something because I took this call upstairs. So my apologies, but let's get it cracking. I will see y'all next week. As said, we are
Happy Father's Day, Mikkel, and all the fathers on here.
Thank you.
Ooh, we love Dad.
Happy Father's Day, family.
So we're covering.
Enjoy the weekend, Kings.
Yes, sir.
Happy
It's gonna
Father's Day,
be
guys.
chapter 5, 6, 7, and 8, right?
Yeah.
Of the same part. So it's gonna be the secret of Socrates, fire. The safety valve in handling complaints, how to get cooperation, and a formula that will work wonders for you. So love y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Let's get it cracking. Hit us. We in the field.
Bye, everybody.
Nah.
Liked it.